Hello everyone and welcome back to Timberborn. This is episode 5 of the Haunted Hollows series. In the last episode we caught a bit of a lucky break. As you can see, we have a drought approaching in just under 2 days, and that is going to be the end of cycle 5. Then we'll be moving on to cycle 6 afterwards, and I've been saying this for a few episodes, but I suspect that a bad tide will be approaching after this drought appears. And in the last episode we were working on getting some of these irrigation barriers placed down. And right now the limiting factor is definitely treated planks, since it requires 5 treated planks per irrigation barrier. We do have a wood workshop over here, but it looks like we're not getting quite enough power. This first engine is being prioritized by haulers, but the second one was not. So now we should get some wood placed over here. Looks like this guy is doing that right now. And in order to get prepared for this upcoming drought, we have installed some additional water pumpers. We also have 5 of these medium water tanks, and hopefully we can get up to about 1500 water before the drought appears. We only have 1.5 days, so we'll have to work as fast as we can. We have these irrigation barriers that we're going to place down, but for bad tides beyond this one, we do want to try and divert it in another direction. And one of the best suggestions that I've seen is making some sort of barrier system over here, and then having the bad water go up and over in this direction. Originally I wanted to use dynamite to blast this out, but we can also just use levees, which is a much cheaper and much faster solution. So we are going to start working on that in this episode. So we can start by placing down some of these levees over here. I'll want to keep the channel at least 3 wide, since that is the width of this river right here. And we don't want to have to worry about the bad water spilling out over the sides of this. And the drought has officially started. It is 8 days long. We need to make sure we can pause all these water pumpers, otherwise we would end up drying out this whole area. Although we do have some of these fluid dumps over here, and so they will keep part of this area green, but ideally we want to keep as much of this area green as possible, since some of these trees are irrigated by the river and we don't have enough fluid dumps to reach all the way over here. And then we can unlock the sluice for 400 science, since we have 2.1 thousand at the moment. And then this will be the device that we use in order to push the bad water up and over here. Even if we don't end up finishing this whole thing before the bad tide arrives, we can still get these placed down, and then we can just have them set to open if we don't want to divert the bad water. We are doing okay on food. We have 280 berries, so we're completely maxed out there. And then we have some fermented cassavas, although it seems like we're going through those pretty fast. And then something else that I want to start working on is getting the tubeway station unlocked. In fact, we have enough signs that we can unlock it right now, and then we can also get the basic tubeway unlocked. One of the first destinations that I want to place down is right near our production line, and then somehow I want to get us connected from here into our main district, or maybe somewhere over near our housing. If we place a tube station right here, that should be close enough. We will need to unlock the vertical tubeways, since that will allow us to start stacking stuff in this direction. And then ideally I would like to get some of these overhangs placed here, and then we can connect them in, but it does take a bit of science to unlock these. Really I'd want to have a few of these unlocked, but I think that the 4x1 will be a pretty good size. We will almost be able to perfectly squeeze in all of the overhangs we need here. I think we'll have to make a few of these platforms at one of the corners, but overall this is a sweet spot in terms of how big we want the overhangs to be. Otherwise, we're spending an additional 500 to 2,000 to 3,000 science in order to unlock these overhangs, and we aren't quite making science fast enough. It will definitely be worth getting a number cruncher. In fact, I might start saving up for that, since it's going to be a while before they can construct some of these buildings, since we have this whole diversion system set up over here. We have just over 3 days of the drought left, and it looks like we have about 500 water, which is great. I think we should be able to make it to the end without running out of water. But our beaver population has increased, so we'll need to make sure we have enough for the next drought. And that will probably mean upgrading some of these water storages soon. Although with all the space, we could just get a few more medium water tanks placed down for now. And then we can postpone unlocking the large tank for 600 science. Since going from the medium water tank to the large tank costs significantly more resources, we are still a bit pressed for space in terms of our production line. Since we have the main one over here, and then we have a much smaller one in this area, but right now it's just the fermenter and gear workshop that is being powered by this large power wheel that is beaver powered. We will want to replace this with an engine at some point, but overall we don't really have enough space at the moment, And so we will need to start thinking about the third dimension for places to get some more production facilities placed down. But that will once again require some overhangs, which are expensive. But if we get these tube-way stations up and running, then we can start going vertical, and getting up to this top shelf will be a little bit easier. And with just under 2 days of the drought left, we are down to 176 water. I'm going to turn on one of these water pumps since we are running a little bit low on water. And I think this river should be able to handle it. And then we can also do some slight rearranging to fit in a couple more water pumps and also these medium water tanks. We are going to prioritize at least a few of these items since we have a lot of other stuff that the beavers theoretically would construct first. Right now we're just sitting around waiting for the beavers to start constructing some of these buildings. Looks like they've made good progress on some of the levees over here. It looks like they can reach all of them, which is excellent. And we also have a couple unemployed beavers now. But that's going to change here in just a minute when the drought ends, and then we throw some of the beavers back into these water pumps. And we have a lot of thirsty beavers. Thankfully the drought has ended and we have a bunch of water pumpers once again. And it looks like we are just now running out of water. We have this floodgate lowered, so once the water does return, it should go back through there. And then it's also starting to flow through the main river once again as well. And as the first day of the wet season is wrapping up, we still have so many thirsty beavers. We got up to 50 water, but that is going down very quickly. And we are out of water. Our food is not changing a whole lot. We're still hovering around 700 to 800, which is not bad, but we do want to start increasing it more. And so we'll need to think about where we want to get another farm set up. And then we do have another option, which is getting the hydroponic garden established. But unfortunately, the hydroponic garden requires a lot of water, and we have not shown that we have stored up enough for us to warrant that. So we'll need to consider our other options. But if we can't find anything else, then we might need to end up going with this and then just install a bunch of water pumpers and some more storages. We have some space on this side of the river, but when a bad tide comes through, it is going to negatively impact this area and not make it suitable, since the bad water effects should be spreading over here. And I think that even if we did have this whole system set up, we would still need to place down some irrigation barriers. On the bright side, we do have some berries that we could pick, so even if we start to run out of food, we have these as kind of a backup. I would like to get some dirt blocks placed up here and then have a bit of an overhang situation. That way we have some more area, and then maybe we could get some farms placed up here with the assumption that we would irrigate this land and make it green. Getting up here shouldn't be too difficult. If we use some of the tubes and then work our way up and over, that should be pretty easy to move over here. But we are still waiting on these tube stations to be constructed. It looks like we do have enough science to unlock the number cruncher, since that requires 1.5k and we're just above that now at 1.6. But it also requires 500 HP, which is more than one entire engine. On the bright side, we do have some of these irrigation barriers that are being placed down. We're missing these last couple, but they finished placing the rest of them up here. And then we're making good progress on these ones over here. I just removed this water pump so we can place down a few more of these irrigation barriers. And then I'm going to high prioritize these plus this one over here. And since we did remove one of these water pumpers, I'm going to get another one squeezed in right here and then have a couple more on reserve. And so we do have a fair amount of vacant jobs. We only have 2 incapacitated beavers, which is good. I mean, it's not good to have incapacitated beavers, but the fact that there's only 2 when we have some dangerous jobs like the wood workshop as well as the smelter, that's not too bad of a number. Overall, things are looking pretty good in this district, but I just realized we actually haven't named our first district yet. And just like in the Road to 1000 Beavers, I want your help naming this district. You guys have had some really creative names in the Road to 1000 Beavers series, so let's get something fun for this district. You could use the topography as an inspiration, or you can do something that's beaver related, or a completely unique name. But leave a comment below and then I'll select the best one, and by either the next episode or the one after that we will have named this first district. But right now I'm just kind of waiting around, waiting for the beavers to do their thing, since they are working on constructing some of the projects that I have selected, one of them being this bad water diversion system, which it looks like they got the sluices placed down. It's been a few days, and in the meantime, the beavers have constructed both of these tube stations, and then they've set up a fair amount of the tubeways themselves, and now it's time to unlock the first overhang, and then start placing some of these down. And we are starting to run a little bit low on metal blocks. This guy's still running at 87% efficiency. And then we're almost completely maxed out on scrap metal. So I think it's just a usage problem. We're using a good amount of the metal blocks. And you can see they're starting to use the tubeways to construct the overhang right here. And then soon it'll be to get between the tubeway stations themselves. We are up to 1.5 thousand water. I think we were getting close to that during the last drought. Or I should say leading up to that last drought. But now we do also have more beavers, with 86 of the beds being occupied at the moment. And then we still have about 800 more water that we could cram into some of these storages. And since we're only on day 10, I don't think we should have a problem filling up all the rest of these. And then getting another tube station set up over here would also be a good idea. And then the tubes would probably just go over top this existing path. It would require a good amount of planks in order to construct all the platforms needed. Plus we would have to build all of these tubeways, which require both planks and metal blocks. And we're already experiencing a metal block shortage at the moment. And as I've been mentioning, the production line is going to be the limiting factor here. Since we only have one of these smelters at the moment, I think it's worth going up top and then getting another few engines constructed, and then also some of the buildings that we need, like the smelter. And that could be a good spot to get the number cruncher set up, which would then free up several jobs down here, plus it would give us signs at a much faster rate. And so we do need to physically be able to get up here. We'll need to remove some of these dead trees, but we're not too worried about those at the moment. But we'll have one of the lumberjacks deal with that once they can get up here. And then even just connecting these two tube stations should be a pretty big game changer in terms of efficiency, since the beavers can move 4 times faster in the tubes than they can walking. At least I think it's 4. Isn't it plus 300%? Yeah, plus 300%, that's 4 times faster. And we somehow have a drought approaching. I'm just absolutely shocked that at the end of cycle 6, it is still droughts that are appearing. But I'm not going to complain. We do need to think about water though. Looks like we have just over 2,000 in total. And then we still have a little bit of space in this water storage. And now that's almost double what we had during the last drought. And even if it is an 8-day drought, we haven't increased our population a whole lot since that last one. So this time I'm a little bit more confident that we'll still have some water left over at the end of the drought. One of the things that I do want to focus on soon is getting some larger water storage tanks set up, since those are much more efficient in terms of how much water they can store. Only downside is that they do cost a bit more resources. But it does look like we are almost up here, and then once we have gotten up here, we can start working on getting our production line set up. The absolute first thing that I'm going to do is get another smelter constructed, and then also get a couple engines set up. I'm just still shocked that we have a drought appearing. I thought for sure it'd be a bad tide. When do you guys normally experience your first bad tide during a playthrough? This is on normal mode, so I thought that it was normally around cycle 5 or 6, but apparently it's closer to cycle 7. And then the beavers are almost done constructing these last couple tubeways, and then I think that we will start to see the beavers walk over this path a lot less. Ooh, but we have some injured beavers. We have 4 incapacitated. I thought we added some beds, but I guess it's just these 2. Oh my gosh, and these ones are being used all the time. And it looks like they did just finish the tubes, so that's going to help out a lot in terms of transportation speed. And then they're almost done getting this 3rd tube station set up. And then we're almost maxed out on water. It looks like we have about 130 that we can fit in this last medium tank, which happens to be the closest one to the beavers' housing. So I think that they filled it up, and then the beavers just started going through some of the water last night. And we once again have an 8-day drought, but we do have 2.3 thousand water, and so we can start pausing some of these water pumpers now. And now we have 5 unemployed beavers. Let's start figuring out some other jobs that we can have them do. Since we temporarily have 9 of these water pumpers paused, it's always worth getting some builders' huts constructed, so we'll place down a couple of those over here. And unfortunately we're out of metal blocks, which means that we can't actually make it up here via the tubeways, but we can make some stairs going up here. And so this will serve as a temporary way to make it to this ridge up here. And that is where we're going to wrap up today's episode. I'm super excited that we have the tubeways up and running. This is going to be huge for our efficiency, since the beavers won't be spending quite as much time walking around. And then it's also going to open up some of these areas for utilization. since as you can see we're a bit limited on space, and then that should help kickstart the rest of our production, getting some more engines up here and then getting some of the production facilities constructed. One building that I do want to construct, but probably not anytime soon, is the dirt excavator. Since we have the overhang ability with the dirt blocks now, we could definitely utilize that and expand some of our usable area up top, which will make a huge difference for green space. And then taking a quick look at food before we wrap things up, we have 850 food, so we're still hovering around that 700 to 800 range, which is good news. And then we'll have to see how much water we have by the end of this drought. If we have a good amount, then I will want to get the hydroponic garden unlocked, and then we can utilize the mushrooms since those only require a fermenter. And then we could get some of those constructed up here with our new production facility area, or we could replace some of the buildings down here. Since you can see this gear workshop employee is not doing anything right now. But it is a good problem. We are maxed out on gears, and so that's going to be very helpful for some of the future buildings, especially including the bot buildings. The bot assembler and the bot part factory both require gears, but that is something for a future episode. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me. And be sure to comment down below what we should name this first district. It's probably going to be the main district for quite a while, but we want to get something better than District 1. And with that, we will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.